Okay, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for tuning in. My name is Aaron Eisman, and I am here with our incredibly talented, wonderful, and exceedingly handsome podcast producer, Mr. Andrew Perelman. Andrew, how you doing today?
I'm doing great. Happy to be here.
We are super excited to share this week's Torah portion with you. We get together hopefully every week to talk about the Torah portion, learn lessons about what the Torah portion can teach us to enhance our lives. And this week, Mr. Perlman, you are in for an incredibly special treat. As some of you might know, we started the Torah anew last week with the creation of the world. And this week is the story of the flood, very famous. For perhaps it's lots of drawings and imagination. Like, what was that like? It's just so vivid. Picturing the story of the flood. So this is the Torah portion of the flood, with Noah and the flood. So let us first unpack a very, very important idea, Mr. Andy Coleman, and that is as follows. Why do we read these stories or these lessons every single year? Why do we again and again, every single year, we finish the entire Torah? The idea is that this isn't a history book. This happened then, because we know already. We know the story. We know the narrative. We know it already. This is something that we need to internalize into our lives. We have to make it a part of us. So it's like you're going to the gym and someone says, "You just went to the gym last week." You're like, "I understand that, but that now I'm a new person. It's a new day. I need to go to the gym again." And that's really the idea of the Torah portion. Each portion, we're internalizing the lesson anew so that we can become greater people. When we heard this portion last year, we were a year less wise. We're a year. We've been through a lot in this year. So there's a lesson that we need to internalize into our lives with Noah and the flood. So that's just a brief history. God creates the world last week, and we spoke about the beginning of the world and creation. And really, we're the Jewish people. The entire world was supposed to be Jewish. The entire world was supposed to be. The Adam and the whole world was supposed to be serving God and keeping the Torah, living the Torah. And Adam and his generations, 10 generations after him, were not worthy. And then Noah comes along, and Noah and his generation is also incredibly sinning and treating each other badly, until finally 10 generations later was Abraham, and he is the father of the Jewish people. But we are right now at Noah. So let's talk about Noah. So how are they treating each other badly? So there was promiscuity. There was even the interspecies. People were being promiscuous, or animals were being promiscuous. But there was a lesson in the dealing with other people. There was a concept of stealing. There was no idea of boundaries. What's mine is mine, and what's yours is yours. If you're drinking a coffee, don't grab it and take a sip, right? So the way they work, if I steal less than a shava pruta is, I don't know, maybe about $1. So if I steal less than a shava pruta, you can't prosecute me. So a guy would come to the marketplace and sell, let's say, pickles, right? And a guy would take a pickle, and he's like, "What are you going to do? I'm allowed to take a pickle." And then the whole town would wipe him out clean, and he couldn't prosecute anybody because everyone was legal, or everyone was beyond prosecution because they stole less. So in other words, just an immoral people. So anyway, God tells Noah that he is going to bring a flood. Now, here's a question to you, Mr. Andrew Perlman. If God wants to destroy the world, and God is angry at the world, the humankind, why a flood? Why this, by the way, is a lesson that will change your life forever if we merit to internalize it. And if you're listening to this, you're trying to internalize it, so you're already halfway there, and it's already going in. And by me saying it, I'm internalizing it. So that's why I'm so grateful for my job, because if I talk it, eventually it'll go into my into me as well. So, Mr. Andrew Perlman, we live during Corona, right? Corona, unfortunately, has been very, 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 very deadly. So why a flood? just bring a corona times 10 or whatever, bring a plague. And why destroy the mountains and the valleys and the fields and the entire world was destroyed. Why such a intense measure of a flood when you could just punish the people that were sinning? I want to ask you another question. This seems unrelated, but I want to ask you another question. You ready? Mr. Perelman, there is a mitzvah that we say twice a day in the Shema. We are commanded to love God with all our heart, with all our soul, with all our resources, to give God, love God with our whole self, every part of ourself. We are commanded to love God. Here is a question for you, Mr. Perelman. Why is it permitted to get married or have children or love anybody, really, if we have to love God with our whole heart, with our whole soul, with all resources? So then it would seem that we shouldn't get married, because isn't that diluting our love?
Well, I guess the thought is that because God is within everything and within the absence of everything, getting married is you're marrying a piece of God. You're
Mr. Andrew Perelman, I see that we've been learning together for a long time, because this is one of our favorite topics, and I'm so that's like absolute incredible bullseye. Boom, exactly. When I love my wife, I love my children, I love my friends, real love is loving their essence, loving who they are, loving that my wife can cook, or loving that my kids are get good grades, or loving that my friend, has a nice house or whatever. Loving surface things or physical attributes about somebody is not real love. Real love is loving their essence, loving who they are. My essence is, I'm not a rabbi, I'm not a doctor, I'm not a lawyer, I'm not a librarian. My essence is, I am a soul. I'm a piece of the infinite. And if you want to love me, so then you have to love me, who I really am. If I'm going to love my wife, I have to love my wife, who she really is. So I'm really practicing loving God when I love my wife. I'm practicing loving God when I see the holiness within my friends. If I see my friend and says, oh, there's that lawyer, oh, there's that doctor, oh, there's the wealthy finance guy, or look at that, there's that poor homeless guy. So then I'm not looking at the person. I'm looking at their physical manifestation, which is so shallow, so temporary, so fleeting. When I look at another person, I need to see who they are, their essence, their spiritual essence. So, and that is true love. When people say they're looking for their soulmate, it's sort of a cliche, my soulmate, but that's what it means. My soulmate means somebody who matches my soul. And as we often say, in order to find your soulmate, you have to first find your soul, right? You can't look for a pair of socks, right? If you're looking for it, you say, hey, I can't find my other socks. Someone says to you, well, where's the first one? I say, well, I don't know. Well, you're crazy. You can't find the second sock if you don't find the first sock. I can't find my soulmate if I never found my soul. The key to true love is a soulmate. What is a soulmate? A soulmate is where I love you for who you are. It doesn't have to be a marriage partner, but it's a friendship. It's really any human being that I love you, I care for you, I respect you for who you are, because I know your essence. That is a soulmate. So you are 100% right. And that's why we have to love God with all our heart, with our soul. And loving mankind is just an extension of that. And it's the same exact thing. Loving mankind is loving God. And it can also be extended to the world when you see the trees and the valleys and the mountains, or more regular things, the mailbox or the fire hydrant for those of us who live in the city, right? You see works of God. You see the trees are easy. Trees, mountains, like, wow, where'd that come from? Who made that? But even mundane things like mailboxes, you think to yourself, someone thought, what would be the most convenient way to help people? And maybe they were paid for it, but so what? They were still trying to help people. And who gave them that desire to help people? They're trying to be good and kind. And a fire hydrant is trying to help people be safe. And you just try to see godliness in everything. That's the real way to open our eyes and look at the world. So the message of loving God is loving God, and the sort of practice ground, or the step ladder to loving God, is to love mankind, to love the world. So that is why, my friend, the Mabul, that really answers the question why the flood had to be on the entire world. You don't have to be in the whole world, because the world, if we look at the world as a separate thing from God, so then you lost the whole purpose of creation. Like, I'll give you an example. Imagine you're in the New York Yankees, right? Now, I'm sure the New York Yankees have a training room, you have coaches and a weight room and a place to work out, right? So, you walk in, the new shortstop of the New York Yankees. You walk in, and suddenly you start abusing the weights, right? You start throwing them at people, and maybe, right, they have water, to work out, and you're using it to take a drink or to have a water fight, and they're like, get out of here. Like, the whole purpose of this training room is to train. If you are not training, so what if you're having fun? So what if it's relaxing? So what if you like to do that? The whole purpose is to train. You're not training, so there's no purpose of you being here. The reason why God wiped out the world was because it was being wasted. The reason we have mountains and valleys and trees and grass and flowers and dandelions and saber-toothed tigers is because we're supposed to say, whoa, there is the infinite, there is God. The reason why we have each other, the reason why we have anything in this world is 100% of the world, we're supposed to see the godliness within it. 100% of the time, we're supposed to see the holiness within it. And if they weren't doing it, there's no point in having the world. So therefore, God brought a flood. And Noah experienced a year where there was nothing. And during that year, all Noah and his family were doing was being kind. They were giving for a year straight, right? The generation was stealing. Noah was giving, taking care of animals, taking care of each other for a year straight. Many commentators say he didn't even sleep. He was just running. Can you imagine a zoo where you have to feed the entire world's animals in every day, different cycles? Some eat at 4, some eat at 5, some eat at 6, 7, 8, different types. Like, imagine what that. So for an entire year, Noah and his family is giving, and out of the world is destroyed. There's nothing else but this world, and that was sort of a reset. To use the world appropriately, start with giving, and then let's start again. And then by giving, you see the goodness of giving. You're feeding a hippopotamus. Whoa, a hippopotamus! Do you know, Andrew? There are people that have seen a hippopotamus and don't believe in God. Can you imagine such a crazy thing? Have you ever seen a hippopotamus? They're massive, and they can sustain themselves, and they take care of themselves, and can you imagine, they come from a single seed, their blood and their back and their arms and legs, or their mouth or their food, right? It's like a hippopotamus is such an incredible creation. So Noah spent the years seeing God in everything. And then the world was destroyed. And then he came out, when his family came and they started again. And the goal is to see the good in everything, to see godliness in everything, to see the world in everything we do. And that is the message. Again, we said that we read the Torah portion not because it's the history, that's what happened then, but this is what we have to internalize now. So many times we can go through life completely distracted by our job, by our social life. Our job and our social life, our downtime, or whatever we're doing, whatever we're busy with, is not a distraction from God, but we're supposed to see God within it. I should be an accountant. I should be a plumber. I should be a lawyer. I should do my job, but I should bring my values there. I know you're going out of town with your friends, right? When you go, don't leave your values home. Go hang out with your friends, bond, connect, tour, but bring your values there. Smile at the receptionist and be kind, and look at the trees along the way, and you're going to see moose. Look at the godliness within it, and on a day-to-day, you don't have to go on vacation. On a day-to-day basis, we need to embrace the world and see the world for what it is. And that's, by the way, how we're successful. The way we're successful is to see God within our relationships. What a true happy marriage is, where I see God within my spouse, where we connect on a godly level. With true friends, I'm connecting on a real level, not just because we like to hang out or we like the same jokes or the same movies. We're connecting on a deep level. And that's the idea of that. That's the idea of the flood. The flood is a reset on the world to re-embrace what the world has to offer. And I want to just perhaps give a helpful tip, right? We could use the same technique they used to steal, that we could do this in a good way. What they used to steal, they stole less than a pruta, less than $1. They stole less than the currency. So therefore, it wasn't considered stealing. So perhaps we could suggest to each other and to anyone who's listening that we need a change. So often, you call up somebody and say, "Oh, I'm busy. I'm busy. I can't. I don't have time to come for Shabbat because I have work, or I have a birthday party, or I'm going on vacation, or there's no time for God because I'm busy with other things." And I think that the secret to happiness is to bring God on vacation, bring God to work, and perhaps we can steal a book, steal, so to speak, no pun intended, steal from their playbook. The people of the flood would steal less than a pruta, steal a little bit. And perhaps we can do the same thing. Steal God into a little area of our life, right? It's very, very difficult to if you're working 8 hours a day, to bring God into 8 hours a day, for the first time. But you can bring in God for 5 seconds, right? As you're sitting down, you just say, "Thank you, Hashem, that I have a job. I have an office. I have a roof over my head." 5 seconds. And when you're looking at someone else down the block, instead of saying, "Oh, wow, that guy is so wealthy. He dresses up beautiful $3,000 suits," and you're like, "Wow, he is a piece of the infinite." And you're looking at your coworkers, you just for 5 seconds say, "Look, there is a piece of the infinite." And our families, if we're able to steal a little thing, then we will merit to live happy lives and really internalize the message of the flood, that use the world for what it was intended for. It's so beautiful. It's so massive. It's so many different areas of recognizing God. And it just occurred to me now, perhaps the reason why the flood, right? Would you agree that the flood is one of the most famous Bible stories?
Totally.
Perhaps it's because the animal kingdom is so vast and so beautiful and so diverse. It's so incredible. Perhaps that's why it's like that, is because there's so many different opportunities to internalize God. Let's play a quick game, Mr. Perelman. Let's come up with, as I will list as many animals as I can, and you jump in and list as many as you can. Just the different types of animals and how they stand. If you have a giraffe eating the top of the tree, you have a porcupine defending itself. You have a skunk with a crazy smell. You have a raccoon with I'm not sure what they eat, but they're kind of scary when you go to the dumpster at night. And then you have saber-toothed tigers, and you have a gazelle, and you have lions and tigers and bears. You have crocodiles. You have spiders and spider webs. You have beavers and beaver dams. You have give me some more
little grasshoppers.
Amazing.
Like dogs, cats, wolves,
fruit flies.
It's incredible. It's seemingly infinite.
Yeah, thousands and thousands of different species, and each one knows how to instinctively survive in the wild. Instinctively, it's like an amazing thing. Instinctively, they're born, and they instinctively know how to live and to eat and to prosper. So that is our mission when we read the Torah portion of Noah. Before we end, I heard another, on my way here as I'm walking, I heard from Reb Melech Biederman, just another beautiful idea that I wanted to. Can we jump on one more beautiful? Okay, so that's the first message, to bring God into everything. But Rabbi Biederman said a beautiful, beautiful idea. He actually speaks in Yiddish, but it's transliterated, so I should really post these more because they're so powerful. He asked the following question. He said, "How could it be that Noah was sane when he came out of the ark? How could it be he was sane? He was spent an entire year, chasing after animals, feeding them. It was basically, he was in prison. The whole world, the whole world is destroyed, and he is in this ark. And you would think, like how did he stay sane? He says a beautiful idea. He says as follows: the reason why he stayed sane was because he realized that the ark was protecting him. It's hard to be on a boat for an entire year bobbing on water, but if you realize that this boat is your salvation, instead of resenting it, you're grateful for it. The ark was his savior, and he internalized that. And when he internalized that, he therefore didn't feel restricted or cooped up for a whole year. He appreciated it. So he said an amazing idea. If we appreciate that our challenges are saving us from something else, if we realize that when we have a hardship, it's getting us somewhere. We have to go through this in order to get to bring us safety. So then that's a secret to persevering through hardships. That when I have a challenge, when I have an annoying roommate, or I'm having a hard time finding a job, or a marriage partner, or I'm having a hard time having children, or having a hard time making friends, or making money, whatever I'm going through, whatever challenge I'm going through, if I realize that challenge is my salvation, that's the secret. That this is a gift that's given to me. The ark was a gift to Noah to survive the flood. This is a gift to us to survive life. We don't know exactly why. Maybe we don't see a flood going on. We're like, why can't I just find a job? But we have to realize that that anytime there's a hardship or something that's restricting us, it's salvation for us. And that's the key to not only surviving, but loving it, embracing it. Wow, I have this challenge. I'm going to embrace it. I'm going to persevere through it. What do you say, Andrew?
Yeah, it's beautiful. And to say it out loud also, to make yourself internalize it, as you've been saying, to not only recognize that it's a blessing, but to actively say it out loud, even when no one's around, to just speak it into existence, that it is a blessing. This isn't 100%. The worst thing that's ever happened.
100%, because that's right. And you use your vocal cords and internalize it. So let's internalize the message of the flood. Live life where we connect to who we really are. True happiness is self-expression. Myself is a piece of the infinite. Let's see God in everything. Use the world like a training room to get to closeness to the infinite, and embrace the challenges of life as sort of our own personal ark, saving us from maybe we don't know what, but embracing our challenges.